This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. There are fears of a surge in violence at Tasmania's Risdon prison following a plan to remove prisoner remissions. The state government is vowing to abolish the remission policy by July next year, preventing an early release for good prisoner behaviour. Unions are warning it will only heighten pressures on the already overburdened prison system.
This was a protest at Risdon Prison just last week. The result, correctional staff say, was born out of overcrowding. Today, the government has announced plans to keep prisoners within the system longer, vowing to remove remissions.
It has been a significant concern to the government that remissions allow offenders to be released 3 months before the release date handed down by the court.
The remission policy is an incentive for good prisoner behaviour and a tool for correctional staff to manage inmates. Unions representing staff say they've been blindsided by today's announcement.
There has been no consultation with us or with our members and correctional officers about this change and about how it would impact the running and the operations of the prison.
This is important to make sure there's truth in sentencing. If a court imposes a 9-month sentence, that 9-month sentence must be met, not 6 months.
The Department of Justice is expected to provide alternative options to remission, but with the removal expected by July next year, unions aren't convinced new funding of beds and staff will provide relief for an already overburdened prison system.
In the next 6 months, there'll be an extra 30 correctional officers that will be employed.
It's not enough to even plug the current gaps, let alone the extra resources that are going to be needed to operationalise some of these changes that the government has announced.
We're open to looking at remissions, particularly concerns that have been raised with us around automatic remissions, but we do need to look at the detail the government's releasing today.
Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
Cadbury's Tasmanian job cuts have been raised in federal parliament. Andrew Wilkie asked the Prime Minister what's being done to support the workers.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're making assistance available to affected workers through the Job Active service, which is connecting job seekers with employers through a national network of providers in over 1,700 locations.
On Tuesday, Cadbury's parent company announced 50 positions would be cut from its Claremont factory. It's instead investing $75 million to improve efficiency with new equipment. The Tasmanian Hospitality Association and Federal Group will appear before Tasmania's gaming inquiry tomorrow. It's amid claims the two industry heavyweights will present a poker machine deal to the committee. The Greens fear it will see the continuation of poker machines in pubs and clubs.
We know that 4 out of 5 Tasmanians want to see a reduction of poker machines. We know that half Tasmanians want them removed entirely from our community.
There will be a tender. We will take the licence to the market, and that needs to be done.
Federal Group says it is committed to participating fully in the inquiry process. Unions are ramping up their campaign for better wages and conditions at a Tasmanian aged care facility. Staff claim basic conditions aren't being met, putting the health and well-being of elderly residents at risk.
A dispute between unions and Southern Cross Care Tasmania boiling over.
What do we want? Fair pay! When do we want it? Now!
This rally followed a failed meeting to negotiate workloads, conditions, redundancies and back pay.
We're trying to keep people alive literally sometimes and make really safe calls. Under the constraints we've got, it's scary.
Staff say a 2% pay increase they've been offered is measly, given the company's strong financial position. But management maintains the demanded 4% wage increase is unreasonable and the current offer is above the national industry average.
We're a good employer, we're a long-standing employer, and I've given an undertaking to listen to the concerns and see what we can do.
They're running on agency staff, they're running short on shifts, they're doing overtime, unpaid overtime, often missing meal breaks. It's a really dire situation and Southern Cross Care need to come quickly to the table.
It's the first time that we've been able to get an update on those issues and understand their respective position.
Protesters claiming the troubles are already affecting residents due to lack of staff and resourcing.
One of them the other day told me the place is going to the pack. quote unquote. And that's one of the ones I got to the toilet on time.
Further industrial action is looming, but employees claim that won't affect those in care.
Certainly will start impacting on the bottom line for Southern Cross Care.
I asked them to display goodwill in terms of not affecting quality of care to our residents.
The company says there will be more negotiations within 2 weeks. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
A Supreme Court judge has directed a Launceston jury to find 4 Tasmanians not guilty of some charges relating to an alleged 2015 kidnapping. The direction was made as the trial against 6 accused continues. With revelations, the alleged victim was taken hostage over a drug debt. Our reporter Monika Dadson has the details.
This afternoon, the Launceston jury found Carly Deckers not guilty of perverting the course of justice, while also found Kane and Sean Richardson and Christopher Humphreys not guilty of aggravated armed robbery. Justice Robert Pearce had directed the jury to make the not guilty verdicts following submissions from the defence that there wasn't sufficient evidence on those charges. But the remaining kidnapping and aggravated assault charges remain. It's been alleged the Richardson brothers, Christopher Humphreys, Malcolm Main, Matthew Williams and Carly Deckers jointly kidnapped Anthony McHale for 3 days, held him at gunpoint and demanded $75,000 from him. Humphreys today took the stand, telling the court the man he allegedly kidnapped was his drug dealer. He said on the 11th of February 2015, McHale visited his Swan Bay home to sell him drugs. I said I'd like to try it before I buy it, Humphreys told the court. The quality wasn't good. Humphreys recalled he didn't want to buy any of the drugs, so McHale left without payment. But the prosecution argued that Humphreys thought the quality of drugs was low and that McHale therefore owed him a debt, saying to recover it, you and your friends kidnapped him. Humphreys denied that was the case. The trial continues tomorrow.
A prominent Tasmanian yogurt company has recalled one of its children's products due to a possible choking hazard. Tama Valley Dairy is asking anyone with its kids' pouches to return them to the place of purchase for a full cash refund. The company says the recall is only related to the packaging, not the contents, and the faulty green caps are being replaced with fail-safe frosted clear caps. The product is expected to be back on shelves in coming days. A crash has caused commuter delays south of Kingston this morning. 2 cars were damaged in the collision, but police say there were no serious injuries reported. Morning peak traffic was queued up on the Channel Highway while emergency crews dealt with the crash and helped to clear the scene. If you've ever wanted to have a drink with a scientist, well, here's your chance. The Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery is hosting a pop-up science bar this weekend with installations of the weird and wonderful.
There's so much interesting stuff that scientists are doing that people don't know about, and there's so much stuff that scientists don't know about, the ideas that non-scientists have, that if they could talk to non-scientists more would be great.
This jellyfish exhibition, just one feature of the National Science Week event, hoping to draw interest from the usually non-science minded. Beaker Street opens tomorrow night and runs until Sunday. Proposed changes to Tasmania's Antidiscrimination Act have failed in the upper house today.
The result of the division, ayes 4, noes 7, so I declare the division passes in the negative.
The amendments were put forward by government to provide protection for religious groups to exercise freedom of speech. Human rights representatives are welcoming the rejection of the bill.
It would have been a step backwards for Tasmanians, and we think that the Act as it stands now strikes the right balance.
There were concerns it would allow hate speech amid the current debate on same-sex marriage. A new indoor archery range at Trevallyn could be built within the next 6 months. Now a development application has been approved by the West Tama Council. Paringa Archery Club is looking to construct the $160,000 indoor centre to give athletes the chance to train in wet weather, although critics say it will be a blight on the local landscape. The proposal still needs approval from Parks and Wildlife. The Salvos are preparing for a special event to show Tasmanians what it's like to sleep rough on our streets. It will help fundraise for a vital homelessness program and bring to light the personal stories of those who are doing it tough.
It's a wet, windy and cold morning, the standard winter conditions that many homeless people face in Tasmania.
Pretty bad, like pretty cold, and you wake up like 3-4 o'clock in the morning cold and you've got to get up and go for walks, try and get warm.
This man is sharing his story to highlight an issue he feels is ignored by some in our community.
Sometimes you sleep near a building, like out the back, or in a tent sometimes, and you could just move around all the time because the police and council make you move.
To help people like this, the Salvation Army is preparing for its Sleeping Out for the Salvos event at the end of this month. Around 50 people will camp out in front of the Hobart Grand Chancellor and hear stories from members of the homeless community.
Most of us aren't homeless, so we have really no idea of what that might really mean. And it's really just a bit of a taste and a bit of an indication of how that experience is for people who are on our streets.
Unless we know a lot about it, we don't see it. And I guess if we close our eyes to somebody's difficulties, we don't really understand them all that well.
Don helps run the Street to Home outreach program, which is made possible by this fundraising event.
We acknowledged there was a great deal of people actually falling through the gaps. So people who would not necessarily be accessing generic services for a number of different reasons.
It's hoped to raise $100,000. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Continuing with our look at business and finance, with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund, the Australian share market has posted a modest fall, dragged lower by that massive sell-off of Telstra shares. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 5.9 points. Short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 79.39 US cents and 67.41 euro cents.
To the TSL now, and a qualifying final precursor will take place this weekend when Clarence faces off against Lauderdale. It's one of the last chances players will have to make their case for selection come finals.
Clarence is the only side Lauderdale hasn't beaten this season. 3 goals the difference last time they met in round 12.
We kick the ball long and high and they sit behind the ball really well, particularly the defenders. We've sort of tried to fix that since that game, which we have done pretty well.
Jordan Roberts will return to the side following a 5-game suspension, while Darren Winter says young Matt McGuinness is knocking on the door for a spot in the side leading into finals. For Clarence, Jeremy Webberley is expecting to play all 4 quarters despite coming off an injury.
You know, I could probably rest for another week, but, you know, it's important to get 2 games in before the finals and in 2 games against 2 really good teams.
Meanwhile, North Launceston is well and truly in the box seat for its clash against Burnie, top playing bottom, and it's on the Bombers' home deck. The Dockers managed to scare the favourites last time they played, when only 20 points separated them. For Tom Couch, the focus is on keeping the standard his side showed against Clarence 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, the expectation's always been there, and it was good for it to sort of, unfold, I guess, against a really good side. So, against Burnie this week, we've got to do the same thing, and against Lonnie, obviously, next week.
And here is how the opening rounds of finals are expected to look. North Launceston should seal top spot, meaning the Bombers will go straight to the semi-final. Clarence and Lauderdale will finish 2nd and 3rd and play off in the qualifying final. Glenorchy and Launceston set to face each other in the elimination final.
After guiding the Victorian Bushrangers to 3 consecutive Sheffield Shields, Matthew Wade is joining the Tasmanian Tigers for the upcoming season. Wade headlines a list of 5 new faces in the senior squad.
Matthew Wade's recent record speaks for itself. He has taken Victoria to triple Sheffield Shield titles and become a regular feature on the international stage.
He's been the foundation of this innings.
And soon he'll be the foundation of the Tasmanian Tigers, a team desperate to improve on last season's record, a dismal 1 win, 3 draws and 6 losses.
He didn't want to be seen as the saviour type, if you will. He wanted to just come down and play his cricket, and that's what I want him to do.
Adam Griffith will be spoiled for choice, choosing between Wade or Tim Payne to wear the gloves. Finalising the squad was harder than usual because of the player contract dispute.
The hardest part was a couple of the guys that relocated down without the monetary side of it. So, there was a few things there that we had to work our way through.
After a positive season on the rookie list, paceman Gabe Bell has been promoted to a full contract.
We've always got a heavy stock of quicks, and
at the moment everyone's pretty much 100% fit, so it's going to be tough work.
George Bailey will remain as captain of the side. Players head to Mooloolaba on the Sunshine Coast for a training camp in a fortnight.
To netball, and after having their phenomenal 62-game winning streak broken, Arrows is ready to bounce back for this weekend's preliminary final. The side declaring it will stick with its tried and true game plan despite the shock loss last week. Arrows come up against Karana, which knocked Kingston out of the finals.
You know, we don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Essentially, the game plan's pretty good. We'll stick to that. We just need to be better at what we do.
Arrows play a fairly regimented game, so we know what to expect. So we've been working on ways to overcome that.
The winner will play Northern Hawks in the grand final. Tasmanian cyclist Will Clark will make his Grand Tour debut this Saturday in the Vuelta a España. It's a change in fortunes for Clark, who recently crashed out of the Colorado Classic in the US. The Vuelta a España goes for 3 weeks, starting in southern France and finishing in Madrid.
Good evening, and due to numerous requests, singing has been banned from tonight's weather. Hobart and Burnie 11 degrees, Launceston 13 today, and Devonport a top of 12. 14 was the high at St Helens and Friendly Beaches with temperatures below average. Mount Reid the highest rainfall with 10 millimetres after Warra had 45 mils in the 24 hours prior. Bridport, Strawn and Flinders Island 13, King Island and Lowhead 12. Wynyard Grove and Campania 11 degrees, Bushy Park 10, Lyoweeney a top of 3. A massive bright speckled cloud is over Tasmania and the Southern Ocean. There also is a layer of low cloud to the south of the state, and a spiral cloud band is near WA, with most of Australia under clear skies. Low-level convective clouds streamed over the state from the west today, bringing isolated thunderstorms to the west coast and far north. Tomorrow, a high develops over South Australia, affecting most of the country. The low over the Tasman helps produce a strong and cold southwesterly flow over Tasmania. A cold front pings out from that low towards New South Wales. Wind south-southwesterly at 15 to 25 knots, increasing to 30 knots over eastern waters, swells at 4.5 metres in the west and south. Strong wind warning from Sandy Cape to Stanley, and also in the east from Cape Portland to South East Cape. A road weather alert for snow on elevated roads and black ice during the morning. We also have a bushwalkers alert for the west coast and central plateau, a warning to sheep graziers for the southeast. A cold day tomorrow, showers and hail for Hobart, 9 the top, 9 for Huonville, a possible storm, and 9 also for Campania. Launceston, showers, mainly in the morning, 13 degrees, 13 the top for Devonport, plenty of cloud about, and 13 for Georgetown. Burnie, a possible morning shower, 13 the top, just 9 for Strawn. Showers and hail and a possible storm, and 13 the top for Wynyard. St Helens, a shower or two, 11. 10 the top for Swansea. Port Arthur, showers and hail, maybe a storm, and just 8 degrees. On Saturday, showers over the west, south and east coast. Snow to 400 metres. Snow on the peaks on Sunday after a frosty start to a cloudy day. A shower over the west. Showers over the north and west on Monday, extending statewide by evening. Partly cloudy in Perth tomorrow, a shower or two in Adelaide, Melbourne and Canberra. Mostly sunny for the other centres up north. Windy though in Sydney and Brisbane. Little showery over Hobart, just 7 degrees at 8 degrees in Launceston, and right now in Devonport 7 degrees. During that whole weather forecast, Jo Palmer's been on her mobile phone. I'm going to have to ban you from bringing that in here.
I was just looking at Facebook. Thank you. Not that you're not very interesting, that's for sure.